Welcome back to Sky Sports. Continued coverage of the Embassy Whirlpool Championships here in Blackpool. As ever, this event attracts the world's very best players. And next up, two players who are very much at the top of that category. Is Chris Melling up against Keith Brewer for a place in the semi-finals. Well, let's just bring you up to date with what's happened in the quarter-finals already in this event. Jason Twist, the reigning world champion, coming through against Gareth Potts, 9-6. And then we saw Phil Harrison, the number 4 seed, coming through very comfortably against James Feely, 9-3. Chris Melling and Keith Brewer in a couple of moments' time. And then we've got Steve Monroe up against the Australian Alec Evrenadis for a place in the semi-final. Well, one man who's reached the quarter-finals 9 out of the last 11 times, Lee Kendall, didn't make it this year, but I'm delighted to say he's joined me in the studio. Lee, good to see you. Commiserations, what happened?
I didn't play well enough in the match, and Steve played well, so it wasn't for me this year, unfortunately.
And just looking at the draw then, there's a lack of seeds this year. Only 3 in the last 8. Why is that?
Well, the game's very strong, and you can't always guarantee the seeds are going to get through, and just goes to show how strong the game of pool is all around the world.
Yeah, Mick Hill's out, Appleton's out, yourself out.
McKenna's out.
Yeah.
So
the game changing?
Possibly, but I mean, we'll still be there again next year, trying again.
Confident as ever. Well, let's just have a look at the players' profiles. First of all, Chris Melling. For me, probably the most talented player the game has ever seen. He won this event a couple of years ago, very, very confident, and he'll certainly take some stopping this evening. He's up against a man who, well, he's probably the most experienced player in the world. But this is an event he's never won, one he desperately wants to win. Will experience overcome the youth? We're about to find out. I'll hand you over to our MC, Mr. Alan Hughes.
Thank you, Mark. And first, a legendary tactician trying to win the only title to elude him in a magnificent career against the devil-may-care young magician and former world champion. Ladies and gentlemen, together in this intriguing clash, will you welcome Keith Brewer and Chris Melling.
That's a mouth-watering prospect, this quarter-final clash. The experience of Keith Brewer up against the finesse and aggression of Chris Melling. Now, you heard our presenter Mark Johnson Allen say that Chris might well be the most talented player the game has ever seen. Well, that's a bold statement, but that tells you the measure of the man. And Keith Brewer initiates events here in this quarterfinal. It's a race to 9, a best of 17 for a place in the semifinals. And Tony Holgate, Keith Brewer looked like a man on a mission coming in there today.
Yeah, it's the most focused I've seen Keith Brewer for a long time. But I'll tell you what, this match is going to be won and lost on the break. There you see Keith Brewer breaking off, not getting a ball. He's not got the greatest break in the world. And this man Melling, the lightning quick magician from Keighley in Yorkshire, has got probably the biggest break this game's ever seen. So if Brewer's going to topple Chris Melling, he's going to have to get that break working.
A world-ranked snooker professional as well. Splits his time between 8-ball and professional snooker, but I can tell you, in 8-ball, he has a world title to his credit. A very talented young player. Attacks everything in sight. You're getting a taste of that already.
I'll tell you what, people that have never seen this young man play before, a word of advice: don't blink, because you're liable to miss the games. And Melling already, I've only just got through a couple of sentences in the commentary box, and Melling's on his last red. He's going to try and roll this in the centre pocket. And Brewer already knows what he's up against. Look at the speed he's going around the table.
Borders being disrespectful, but he knocks them in rapid fire succession. Chris Melling, the magician, opens accounts here in this quarterfinal, 1-0 over Keith Brewer. A quick look at the pack just to make sure that reds, yellows, and black are all touching. And put in your earplugs. Well, he hit that with so much power that he lost the white, Tony.
Open table.
And look at the reds.
Well, you just wouldn't expect that from Melling. There you see is the big wallop. Cue ball straight in the centre pocket. It's one thing, you've got to control the cue ball, but Like you said, Jim, if you're going to put that much power into the break, it is hard to keep control of the white.
Our first look at Keith Brewer. One of the best the game has ever seen. For a long period of time, he has been the player to beat here.
Red ball's in play.
That was a nifty little shot. Yellow into red, nominated reds. Just cleared that side pocket. Now the most difficult red is probably the one nearest the same side, Tony.
He could just play this a plant up into the top right-hand corner.
Now, Tony, just for those folks at home that might not know, that's a perfectly legal shot after the break?
That's right, Jim. After Chris Melling's break, no legal ball was potted. Whereas Keith Brewer had a choice, so he could take either colour or hit any colour first. So he could effectively hit the yellow onto the red. And all it means is the first ball that is legally potted, that's the colour you're on. So Keith legally potted the red, but he used the yellow, so that puts him on reds.
Well, he hasn't played a conventional shot yet. That was a nifty little plant, too, to get rid of the most difficult red that it looked on the table. Have a look here, and in so doing, he leaves the other one right over the same corner pocket.
Well, Keith Brewer, he's all about position. He's very good at kicking balls out, just landing straight on them. He doesn't like to be too far away from his work, Keith Brewer.
30 seconds.
Tends to look at the game as why be 6 foot away from a pot when I can be right behind it. I don't expect the Keith to lose the white at all in this match. I don't think he's played the greatest shot in the world there.
He's in no man's land. If he can't get through to that red over the left center, it looks like he can. Oh, well, he's wide open.
But as we saw in our first quarterfinals, Jim, Jason Twist in particular losing control of the white. And Jason Twist said after that match, it's the fastest match table he's ever played on.
Well, that's something that many people at home won't realize. These players will not have had a chance to hit any balls on this match table. They've got a practice table set up in another one of the rooms here at the Hilton Hotel. But not until this match do these players set foot around the match table. So it's all about who can figure it out the fastest. And obviously with the new cloth just recently stretched, that enhances the table's quickness.
Also, the camera lights above heats the cloth up, which makes it particularly fast as well. Well, Keith Brewer is trying to get onto the red nearest the black ball in the centre pocket. He's looking down there. It's very awkward because the red's very near the knuckle. It could all go wrong here quite easily.
Well, and the one thing that Keith wants to be afraid of is that he doesn't end up
30 seconds.
below this red. You can see it passes into the center pocket, but he really wants to be no worse than straight on this. And I don't know if that's okay.
He's left that short and he's going away from the 8 ball, Jim.
Now, this is what Keith was concerned about. Tony, a little doubt. And you can see even his reaction after he struck that red. He had to try and be at no worse straight on this. As you said, that cue ball going away from the black now, and it's going to be the wrong side of the table for him to attack that 8 into the corner that he's bridging nearest.
30 seconds.
He's looking at the possibility of the in-off.
Yeah, I thought that as well, Jim. Maybe trying to play the black ball onto the yellow into the bottom corner. But very tough shot. Still got to make this red yet.
What a shot. As he was lining up, Tony, I said he could play this off the yellow. I thought that to myself. He really had no choice. And what an opening for Keith Brewer. The first look at him, and he is ready for the fight. 1-1 this quarterfinal. Well, Keith Brewer has to be very content with the way that he threw it back at Melling. And those silent messages that go between players away from the table obviously play a large role psychologically in how a player would prepare for a match as big as this one.
There you see Keith Brewer's break coming up dry once again. He's taking another look at it. He's got his back leg up in the air. He's really tried to lunge at those balls. And he knows he can't afford to let this young man have a clear gangway to the table.
He's opted for the reds. And you know what's even more amazing about Chris Melling is the type of cue that he uses in all disciplines, whether it be snooker, 8-ball, 9-ball. He's got about a 14-ounce cue out there. That just tells you the power in his back arm.
Yeah, he's got a very long cue action. Pulls the cue back longer than any other player on the circuit. It's so smooth, it's a great cue action. But pulling back such a long way gives him great follow-through if he needs to put the real power into a shot.
You know what I like about the way he plays the game is how quickly he sees the pattern with which to remove the colors. He just visualizes which balls to take, and he makes it look preposterously easy. And look at this. Just like that, in the blink of an eye, 2-1, Chris Melling. Twice Brewer has failed at the break. Twice Melling has stepped in and mopped up. And Melling will be breaking off again. Remember, that cue ball went straight into the side pocket the last time he broke. Let's see if he tries to correct that.
He's sticking with the same side of the table. A bit more bottom on the cue ball this time, and he's kept it out of the pockets. And just look at this split. Here we go again.
Yellow ball in play.
That's what makes this man so dangerous. Not only a prolific potter, but when he gets the break working, you just have to sit back and admire.
Well, you have to say this frame's all over. It's just unbelievable. It's relentless. But what a talent this man has. And no wonder all the players are scared of him. But you're right, Jimmy. He looks like he doesn't care.
Well, there's one thing about it, Tony. When you play him, the pain doesn't last long. He's just asked to have the cue ball cleaned. And that's about the only thing that'll slow him down.
And that's our referee, Tracy James from South Africa. It's her first time here. You see the clock. I don't think they'll need the clock in this match somehow, Jim.
I'll be surprised if Chris Melling ever gets a warning.
He struggles to get the 30 seconds for the entire frame.
Just feather this in and leave the 8 opposite center. For 3-1. He makes it look like it's hanging over the pocket. 3-1, Chris Melling over Keith Brewer. He is yet to miss a ball. All set now. Frame number 5.
Trading 3 frames to 1.
Probably 10 minutes into this match, and here we are in frame 5 already. Brewer breaks off. Well, the ball went down.
Yellow ball contact.
Yellows look pretty good, Jim, as well.
Yellow ball in play.
Again, look at the body English. He's trying to get every pound into that break. And that yellow, thankfully, dropping into the center pocket for Keith.
This is what Keith needs. He needs to get balls off the break. We did see Chris Melling going off his first break, but that's only going to happen once every blue moon. But we just seen the frame that Brewer won, how well he's playing, because he took out a very tough finish. There you see Keith Brewer asking for the rest. He's not going to risk moving any balls to his waistcoat or failing with position. Quite happy to use the long material.
So often he's come into this event as one of the seeded players. Not this year. He had to go through the preliminary stages.
He didn't want that kiss in the red. Still got options. So he's still got the yellow down into the bottom left-hand corner, which I feel he's going to take. And there you see the yellow sails into this corner. It's quite a long way away from it, and this is not one of Keith's favourite shots. But you know, if he pots this ball, he's going to be in perfect position to finish this frame. And that is the difference between Melling and Brewer. Chris Melling would have spanked that ball in the pocket with his eyes shut.
I think Keith knows that he can't afford to miss anything in the Open. A beaten finalist in this very event, 1998, losing only to Carl Morris. But he won't be able to miss shots like that if he wants to find his way through to the final this year.
I think Melling's played a loose positional shot there. I mean, quite a lot of players there, with those two reds at the top of the table, because they are a bit dodgy, a lot of players would have just covered that bottom right-hand corner, not Chris Melling.
Those two might offer the plant into the top left corner, Tony. We're going to know the way he plays this. And I've got a feeling they do.
If it wasn't a plant, Jimmy'd find one. Easy game, Jim, isn't it?
I can't believe our cameraman can get there quick enough.
I think he's got a date with a good-looking girl later. I think he's got to be, looks like he's in a bit of a hurry, doesn't he?
I know he's got a date with a hairdresser. 8 down, 4-1 confirmed. Chris Melling has taken 4 of the first 5 frames here in this quarterfinal and looking unstoppable. He was talking about getting his hair dyed, Tony, wasn't he, for this? But he couldn't get a hairdresser to get him in time. He was going to be a bleached blonde.
Yeah, he's been in twice this week, trying to get in there, and they both hairdressers have turned around and said they can't do it.
Well, mistakes can creep into your game. This one that Keith Brewer unfortunately saw find his path, unforced, cost him the frame. And Keith knows only too well that he's got to keep Chris Melling in his sights. As if he doesn't free flow anyway. Frame 6. Melling breaks off. Red down.
Red and yellow ball putters.
He's got one of each, Jim. He's already nominated the reds. Like lightning round the table.
And look at the reds. This is mind-boggling stuff that you're seeing here. I can assure you folks at home, this game is not nearly this easy.
I think he's rubbish, Jim. It's unbelievable, isn't it? And what can you say about this young man? Once he's got the confidence, ball by the horns, he's one of these players as well, once he gets away from you, there's no stopping him. I played him about 2 months ago in a pro tournament. And I won the first frame, and then I didn't see the balls again for the next 7. It's just ridiculous. Simple 8 ball now for Chris Melling.
And with it, 5-1. Melling motors on towards the finish line, just better than halfway there, a half an hour into the match. All Chris Melling. And now breaking off here, and you can see a little aggression in that break off. And what's worse, nothing finding its way to a pocket.
Well, Keith Brewer must be wondering if there is a God there. That cue ball bouncing. He's lucky it didn't come off the table.
Well, he's gotten very friendly with that chair. He might well be married to it here for the duration of this frame, too. Finally, a slight hiccup.
Well, he's going to have to try and find a big pot here, is Chris. And that's the only thing with Chris, now and again, because he goes so quickly, and once he gets a long way in front, he will fall out of position from time to time, and just a careless one. And that's one of them.
24 years of age. He's already won a world title in this very event.
Cut out.
Well, there you go. Make a note of that. You won't see that very often.
As you can see, the clock stopped there. That's because they have a timeout while
Running.
the referee
30
gets the
seconds.
spider.
And the wrist.
He wants them
Timeout.
both. We're going to see a bit of a circus act now from Chris as well. Always nice to see. This is the first time Chris has played this shot without a safety net.
Time running.
So be careful.
We do have one more rest. Just wants to try and get this over the pocket.
Well, with all that equipment out there, it's going to be a hard
Red ball
shot.
in play.
And now Keith Brewer, his first opportunity for a while.
6 frames in before even the slightest indication that Chris Melling has a pulse.
Brewer want to be trying to tie up some of these balls. You see the 2 reds at the bottom right-hand side of the screen there. Obviously not available in that pocket. So there's no finish for Keith Brewer. So we're going to see him try and maybe cover the bottom right-hand corner somehow.
And Tony, this is really what Brewer has to do. As difficult as it might be, he's got to try and slow things down, control the pace of play, bog it down, try and take Chris Melling out of rhythm, out of sync. And that's what he's trying to do.
Well, covering that pocket. Okay, it stops the 8 ball going into there. It doesn't stop the 8 being available in the other bottom corner. Chris Melling won't be looking to play any safeties. He was attempting to double into the bottom bottom left-hand corner.
That's exactly what he was going at. He knew he had the big pocket there with the red. Have a look at this. And it wouldn't have been a million miles away had it missed that red. But again, very creative. That would have freed the pocket had it gone in off the red and completely opened the frame up for Melling. And now Keith, well, I'm not so sure he wanted that in.
He didn't want it in body language. It's more of a tut when the red went in the pocket. Keith's going to try and close the door on the bottom right-hand side of the table. And he's achieved it this time.
And this is what Brewer has to do. Force the game. Turn it into a chess match. Because he is the chess master.
This is one type of game that Chris doesn't really enjoy. Obviously because he very rarely plays any safety matches. He's normally finished them before anybody can get to the table.
30 seconds.
And there you see Chris hitting the 30-second mark.
Yes, the one poor positional shot has allowed Keith Brewer to dictate the pace in frame number 6. Sorry, frame number 7. What a shot there. Still that problem yellow below the 2 reds on the right-hand side. Another look at this good yellow from Chris. He'll already be thinking about how to develop that yellow. And that's not going to be easy.
30 seconds.
At some stage, Tony, it wouldn't surprise me even to see him pot Keith Brewer's, Keith Brewer's red. Nearest the yellow over the bottom right.
I'd say that wouldn't be the worst shot in the world, Jim, either. I think he's put the yellow over to the left-hand side of the table because he's going to try and maybe get that yellow in front of the red down there. But Brewer's a bit too cute to let young Melling do that.
Yeah, I don't know whether Chris really wants to try and play this game. I think he's better off putting his best foot forward and just freewheeling. Mind you, he enjoys the challenge. Most champions do.
30 seconds.
Well, I think Chris should just climb up this bottom left-hand corner. I think that should be his main aim. And there you see Ooh, that is what Keith Brewer did not want. He was trying to block the yellow, the path of it into the bottom left-hand corner, and he's concentrating all his efforts on stopping that yellow going in there, and he's lost the white, Jim.
Yes, and freeing that pocket opens the door slightly for Melling. He's growing in confidence.
30 seconds.
Keith Brewer now trying to think of a way maybe he can get that bag covered again. What if there's a planter to the centre? Unlucky. Great effort there from Keith Brewer. The only problem is he's left half a chance now for Chris.
He's left the one difficult yellow, and you can bet that Chris Melling is going to take this on. On the left-hand side, a thin clip to the bottom right corner. If he gets it, everything will be in the open. And he's got it. What a shot from Melling there. The only problem ball now for Chris is the black. But you can see he's got the yellow top right, and it's all going to be about angle on the last yellow, and I believe the last yellow he'd like to leave will be the yellow nearest the bottom right corner. If he can leave himself angle on that yellow to get over the left-hand side of the black as we look. I believe he's going to take the yellow top left next. Top right will be the second last yellow to go.
Well, he's coming downstairs, Jim.
This surprises me, because where the cue ball is now, it'd be a lot easier to drop on the black.
He doesn't want to play it easy, Jim. He prefers the harder shots.
No, I still think, unless he's trying to move the black here, maybe he's going to try and develop it.
Well, I think this is madness. What a fantastic shot, but so much would go wrong with that. He could have knocked that into the red and everything. What a great shot.
Real confident player.
I'll have to say, he's a freak.
6-1, Chris Melling over Keith Brewer. And what a finish he just laid out there. Unbelievable. We'll be saying it time and time again. The magician weaving some magic. Well, Keith Brewer, that one red that he knocked in by mistake,
8 frames,
proving so costly.
leading 7 frames to 1. I speed run 6
Frame 8,
frames to 1.
Melling all set to crash into them.
Look at that break. That's incredible. I'll tell you what, Jim, he's the only professional player to bring his exhibition game to the tournaments.
And he doesn't miss often in exhibition. But look at this. They just explode. They fight their way into the pockets. And what's even more amazing, as I said, is he uses a 14-ounce cue. That's all arm power.
Melling's slight problem will be the red ball towards the left-hand side of the table, just above the left side centre. That's the red there that Chris maybe will be slightly worried about, only because he's not going to be able to play much power into it to get position. And you know what? He's coming downstairs. He's going to play it last. Good thinking there by Melling. I didn't spot it straight away.
He wants a bit of angle here, though, Tony, and I think he's got it, just to get the cue ball over the left-hand side of the table and play this into the center. Well, he may end up doubling this. I think. 8 down, 7-1, Chris Melling. An onslaught here on the match table. and it has been unbelievable stuff from the Magician.
It is unbelievable. He's not bad, is he? Very impressive.
Brilliant. He's made one mistake. That was just a positional shot, really, and he's just cleared up every time. Fantastic.
At the top of the show, I said for me he's probably the most talented player the game has ever seen. Would you agree with that?
Talent-wise, yeah. I mean, Mikkel's probably known as a #1 player, but Mikkel couldn't go out and do that performance there.
He does look like he's practicing.
It's just unbelievable.
But he's like that off the table, isn't he? He's a character.
He's just how his whole life is just barrel laughs, and he just comes to the table exactly the same. It's a good way to play the game. I mean, I wish I could play like that.
Yeah.
I have to think a little bit, but.
Well, watching him,
fantastic.
if you were out there playing him now, what would you be doing if you were out there?
I'd be covering the bags, or I'd be just trying to slow him down, just let him know that I want to play a little bit as well.
Yeah. Because, I mean, Keith, at the moment, does he look out of his depth? Is that fair to say?
I think he's just a little bit blown away, really. He's missed one pot in the whole match, and he's 7-1 down.
Right.
So he's obviously thinking to himself, is this guy going to miss?
Anyway, back now for Brewer?
Not really.
Not really?
Can't see, it's 7-1. He hasn't done much wrong. Chris doesn't look like missing, and his break's fantastic.
He has been absolutely superb. What is going to happen next?
Frames to 1.
Quite interesting, Tony. They were actually having a little laugh outside there, and Brewer was about to give Chris Melling a bear hug. I think that might be his only chance. Break Chris's back.
Well, the only thing I'm disappointed with in Keith Brewer is that during that short break that he didn't call up a couple of mates and have Melling kidnapped. I think that's his only tactic, but look at this break from Brewer.
Yellow balls in play.
But the yellows ideally suited, and that's just a testament again to how good-natured these players are on and off the table. I mean, it's all business. They're at the office when they're out there, but off the table, a lot of mutual respect. And Brewer right now fighting for credibility. I mean, realistically, Tony, it's 7-1 down. Very few, if any, would give Keith a chance at pulling this match out.
There's one thing about Keith Brewer, he won't give in. Never, ever give up the ghost. You see the wry smile on his face. He's missed one ball in this entire match, and he's 6 frames adrift of Melling. I mean, the way Keith's had to look at it at the end of the day is what can you do? There's nothing he could have done.
Well, in the 11 years I've been covering this event, I can honestly say that that last session from Chris Melling is the best exhibition of pool that I have ever seen. That was phenomenal. I can throw my eyes away now. I've seen it all. And Keith just taking a little extra time. Just wants to be quite sure
50
how he
seconds.
wants to remove these last 3 yellows.
Well, he wants the one over the middle pocket for last because it gives him easy position to get on the 8 ball.
Well, the 8 is the concern. Just draw this straight back into the middle of the table.
I'd like to come a little bit further. As you can see the angle there, it's sending the cue ball downwards from the table. He's just going to have to drop this in dead weight, I think, and take on the black into the top left-hand corner.
But just added pressure with each ball. Keith must surely know that a miss will cost him a frame. So he's got to have this 8.
We're going to know before him.
And get it he did. Keith Brewer with a break and finish, his first of the match, and he can offer a smile over to his opposition. 7-2. Brewer does the business in frame number 9. Chris Melling all set now to kick things off in frame number 10.
Leading 7 frames.
7-2 in front. He wants 2 more for a place in the semifinals. And I don't believe anything found its way down. He's chalking his cue, but that'll be for his next visit. A lot threatening pockets, Tony, but nothing disappearing.
And Keith Brewer can't believe it, having this much time at the table. But again, it's still not an easy finish for Keith in front of him. I feel the yellows are maybe the better ball. He sees two awkward ones at the top of the table.
Seconds.
Players always have a personal preference. Very seldom two players will think exactly alike.
Yellow balls in play.
We all have our subtle preferences. And Keith has elected yellows. And as they sit, there's no real glaring obstacles. Everything looks to be available, just a matter of weaving that cue ball into the right areas of the table. And that's a beautiful shot. If there was going to be a problem, it would have come in the form of those two yellows top of the table, Tony, but I think he's just alleviated that. Arguably not as good as he once was, but you have to say he can be as good once as he ever was.
Well, Keith Brewer is going to play the yellow at the top of the table, just deciding which yellow he wants to fall onto. The awkward part of this is the red ball that's sat right between the two yellows at the bottom of the table. If that wasn't in his way, he'd have already gone through these balls.
30 seconds.
Well, it almost looks like that yellow next to the red passes into the center pocket, but Keith's going to take it now. Just try and hold the cue ball into that area that he's in. He's just showing you with his cue.
I think you want a little bit more angle on this so he could maybe pot this yellow and push the red out of the way. As you can see, the angle's not great.
Still, all he has to do is bump this in and play that 8, I would think, into the right-hand middle pocket.
No, I agree with you, Jim. That's probably the best shot. You can see he's just pitching a little bit of right-hand side on the cue ball.
Well, he's elected to bring the cue ball back into the center of the table, and now bottom left pocket of choice for Brewer. And this to pull yet another one back. And more importantly, Keith will be breaking in the next. We'll know it's in. And it is. Keith Brewer pulls another one back. 7-3. The road to recovery starts here. And the break quite possibly came at an ideal time for Keith Brewer. So here we go. Brewer all set, frame 11 of a possible 17.
Oh dear, Jim. Nothing off the break, and just look how quickly Chris Melling's out of his chair. As Keith sits down to looking up for a bit of celestial help, I think, there.
Yes, that really said it all, that quick glance to the stars. You know, Melling looks so cool when he plays. You almost want to think that the sheep count him when they go to sleep.
And again, Melling starts to pick up the pace.
Just nudges that yellow out of the way to make his work that much easier. Just flick this into the center.
Have to screw the cue ball into those 2 yellows just above the red now. I thought that was a little bit dangerous, but not for Chris Melling.
Well, that's how quickly it can happen. Just the one failed break from Brewer, and Chris Melling finds himself on the hill, breaking for the match. 8-3, one more for a place in the semifinals. Frame 12.
Ready to break, leading 8 frames to
And
2.
Melling wants to keep Brewer in his chair.
Just look at the cue bend on the cloth as Chris Melling broke. Nearly snaps his cue as he breaks. Unbelievable. Just look at the cue bending on the cloth.
Red ball's nominated.
And the power of the break and the balls down in the pockets. And Melling can see the finishing line.
Well, he's elected red simply because that cluster of 3 yellows the bottom of the table.
Well, he's not just trying to stroll through the door of the semi-finals, he's trying to smash it down. As he glued to that yellow, Jim.
Well, he's got the red into the center if he has. So options abound.
But the plant at the top of the table's got to be made. It's not just a set-on plant.
No, but if he takes the cue ball top side of that yellow as we look, I don't think it's going to pose too many problems. He's starting to eye it up now. When he elected reds, I think he was always going to be looking at the plant there, Tony. It's just a question of where the red goes that he plants onto the other. Well, that's where he had to take the cue ball.
Time out.
He feels he had a kick there. Tracy James, our referee. Going to clean it.
Well, let's watch for the kick. Cue ball usually, yes, it did jump, didn't it?
Yeah, there's a bit of bad contact on that.
Time running.
And if he gets this and lands on the last red, and I'm not sure he has, only just. Oh, wow. Chris Melling steamrolls his way into the semifinals. Little Keith Brewer could do but offer his hand in congratulations. An astonishing performance from the magician.
A phenomenal performance from Chris Melling. That is some of the best 8-ball I've ever seen.
It was fantastic. I mean, you've got to feel sorry for Keith. He hasn't done much wrong. He's missed one ball in the whole match, and he's got beaten 9-3.
Keith came back well, didn't he? He started to win a couple of frames, but you always had the impression that Chris just had too much in hand.
Well, he's been playing well all week. That's why I thought he got a chance of taking him a little bit further than he did, but he just didn't get the opportunities. And
I mean, we'll see the way he finished off the match. He just made it look so easy. Let's not forget, this is the quarterfinals of the World Championships.
yeah, great finish again, but when he's in form, he gets that little bit of rub. He lands on the last red. Pops a good long last red. And ends up perfect on the black. Fantastic.
Pinpoint accuracy. In terms of talent, if you compared him with other Q sports, I suppose Ronnie O'Sullivan in snooker?
Yeah, he's just a phenomenal player. He just doesn't seem like he's going to miss it. When he is flowing, he's brilliant to watch.
Can anybody stop him in this year's event?
Phil playing how he did, he's got a chance, but the obvious one would be Jason Twist.
Yeah, well, we'll show you the lineup, what is happening in the quarterfinals at the moment, how they're developing. There's Jason Twist, 9-6 over Gareth Foss. Phil Harrison, 9-3 over James Freely. Confirmation of that result. And an incredible performance from Chris Melling, 9-3 over Keith Brewer. And then we've got Alec Everynades from Australia up against Steve Munro. Complete the semi-final lineup. It's been an absolutely superb display. A quick word on that last match. Alec Everynades, Steve Munro. Come on, don't sit on the fence. Who's going to win it?
I'll go for the overseas guy, Alex. He's underestimated. He's the second favourite in the match. I know the Aussies have had £1,000 on him at 2-1.
Really?
So they believe in him. I think he's won 3 Australian championships, so he must be in form.
He was telling me that he's been in 9 times. The first time he's ever qualified for the quarterfinals. He's invested something like $40,000 over the 9 years. It'd be lovely if he could go all the way, wouldn't it?
It would. He certainly would. He'd be the second Australian to win it if he did. But we'll see. I mean, Chris Mann is going to take some stock in the semi-final if he got that far.
And you'll be back next year?
I'll be back next year.
All right, thanks for joining us, Lee. It's been a great evening's entertainment. Chris Melling safely through to the semi-finals. I'm going to go for a lie down now. I'm absolutely exhausted. We'll see you next time. Goodbye.